Hello everyone, welcome to my project for CFM 220 Mechanical Systems, and Merry Christmas. I am doing my project on the Art of Lockpicking. Now you may have the question about whether lockpicking is applicable to what we've learned this semester with HVAC and plumbing, and in reality locks are a mechanical system. It's a fascinating device that is used all throughout the world to secure things. But even further than that, in its application to what we've learned, if you work in HVAC or plumbing, you're going to encounter a lot of locks. People lock spaces where you need to enter to work. People lock tools in cabinets and in chests. There are locks on vehicles that you may use getting from work sites to offices, and even in our personal lives, we can find locks all throughout our homes, in places of work, and just everywhere in the world. And so what I would like to do is, first, I want to explain the mechanism of a lock, what's inside this that keeps, say, this or this right here shut until we want to open it. And then I'd like to explain a little bit about some of the tools we use to open a lock when a key isn't readily available. And that's basically it for the project. So there are 9 key parts to a lock. The first is the cylinder. So the cylinder is what houses everything that keeps a lock from opening. So we want to come a little bit closer to the camera, but the cylinder houses all this here, and within the cylinder is this kind of brass portion, which we call the plug. The plug is what is able to move around freely, and it has it's able to actuate the locking mechanism in order to open it once it's able to turn. And in order to turn, we have to insert a key. Now within the plug, if we were able to see through this lock, there's a shear line. And this shear line is what dictates whether the plug can turn or not. The shear line has shafts in it, which are called pin shafts. And within that shaft, you can imagine that there is a spring, and then under the spring there's a driving pin, and under that there's a key pin. Now, when the key is not inserted into the plug, the pins block the shear line from being able to twist, and they need to be moved out of the way in order to turn the lock and open it. In order to move those out of the way, we have a key, right? So here we have the key that goes to this lock. Each key is unique in that it goes to the lock or the systems of locks that it's made for. And you see here what looks like teeth on the key. And so this is called the biding of the key. And each one of these little ridges and valleys matches up with one of the pins inside this lock. And when you buy a kit to make a lock or to change a lock out, you have all these different pins, which are the key pins, that are all different sizes. They number 1 through 9 in length. And so the pins are set in the lock, and then they correspond with the depth of each of these cuts, so that when you insert the key, every key pin is above the shear line, and then you're able to turn the lock freely and open it. Another thing that you should know about a lock is this front portion, kind of the face here, is called the warding. The warding is cut in a certain way to try to prevent people from easily accessing the pins. And every key, if you look down it, it kind of has like cuts carved into it. Matches perfectly with its warding, so that it gives a little bit of added measure of security. So knowing all that, knowing how a lock functions, we need to get into the lock and move the pins around above the shear line in order to turn it and open the lock. We can then get into the art of picking a lock. And so if you come over here, we have the tools that can be used to open a lock. And so they're divided into 3 groups. What we have here in this section are the tension wrenches. So like with the key, you need to be able to twist. A tension wrench is what provides the twisting on the lock. And so if we see this lock right here, when we put a tension wrench here through the warding, we're able to, you heard it click right there, but you're able to twist it and put tension. So now all the key pins are running against the shear line. And why is that important? Well, we come to these tools here. These are rakes and these are hooks. They're thin enough to enter the lock and move the key pins up and down. Why is that important? Well, if you were to do it without a tension wrench, the pins would move up and down freely, but they wouldn't stay in the place that you move them to. So with tension in the lock, we're able to insert a hook or a rake and move the pins, and when they find their place that they're supposed to be, or the height that they're supposed to be at, and there's tension on them, they set in the place they're supposed to be. And once you get all the pins in a lock set, you'll be able to open it without a key. So we'll grab a hook here, and I find hooks easier to use, but we have the tension wrench set. We're applying a little bit of pressure, not too much, and then we're going to come in here with the hook, and we're going to kind of fill the pins in here, and boom, the pins were able to set, and we unhooked it there. And I'll do it one more time so you know that I'm not doing any baloney behind the scenes. So it's closed, I can't open that, and if I just turn with this, it won't open either, it's still locked. But I put some tension on the tension wrench and coming back in with the hook, and bam, open again. Very easy. And it's important just to get your pressure right with the tension wrench, so that, because if you're twisting the plug too hard, you won't be able to know whether the pins are set or not. And you can lift them above the position they need to be in, which sometimes won't allow you to open the lock. So now let's come here to this fire safety box. And this fire safety box is full of important documents, and you can imagine that you're at your job and you need to access documents for billing's due, or you need to get some of your business licenses, or you keep the money in here and you need to pay someone. But there's a lot of reasons why you need to get into something like this. And just so you know, when it's unlocked, you can't pull the key out. But once it's locked, the key can be taken, and let's say you give it to the intern, they're very forgetful, they lose the key. Well, now you can't access any of these documents. So we're going to come over here, we're going to grab a different tension wrench this time. This one's a little bit longer and thinner. And if you just want to come over my shoulder here, sometimes it's helpful to get to where you can see kind of what you're doing. You won't be able to see into the lock, but you can see where you're positioning everything. So we take the tension wrench, we enter it here, and we just want to set it so that we can press it even with one finger, and it's able to give us a little bit of tension there. And then we enter with the hook, and we're kind of just going to manipulate the pins here. And another important part of lockpicking also is patience, which not everyone will tell you, but you need to be patient as you're working to get the lock set. And there we go. It's open. So now, knowing this, hopefully if you have an interest, you're able to find lockpicking sets online, and you only need to get a couple hooks and rakes and a couple tension wrenches, and you'll be able to take this power and go use it for good. And that's my project. Thank you.